Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to the Plaistow Selectmen's meeting of January 24th, 2022. We are going to have a roll call, please.
Select Chair, Mr. Britton.
Yes.
Select Vice Chair, Mr. Blinn.
Here.
Selectman Mr. Talion.
Here.
Selectman Mr. DeRoche.
Here.
Selectman Mr. Coy. Here. And note for the record, we have Town Manager Mr. Colby with us.
Okay. Gentlemen, ladies, if we could stand for Pledge Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. All right, play ball.
I'll make a motion to approve the minutes of January 10th, 2022, the Plaistow Board of Selectmen minutes.
Do I have a second? Bill seconds. Any comments? If not, take a vote. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. 5-0-0. Okay, ladies, it's your floor. If you'd come up and just announce who you are.
Do I have to sit? Good evening, all. My name is Carrie Patlis. I serve as Chair for the Recreation Commission. I wanted to take this opportunity during public comment to review a warrant article, as you all intend to do this evening, specifically regarding the Recreation Capital Reserve Funds. The warrant article is asking for $30,000 to be deposited into the Capital Reserve Fund for recreation to continue the work at Park on our newly built softball fields. The goal is to install a backstop and 2 dugouts in order for the fields to begin being used by not only our athletes, but also for field rentals that are generating revenue for the town. The backstop and the dugouts are a necessary safety measure for games to be played in order to protect players, spectators, and other guests at Park. Our softball program continues to see growth, and we are eager to give our girls similar opportunities to the baseball program. So we appreciate the support of this article from both the board and budget committees. So I just wanted to come in and thank you for your support of that and give a little detail as to what we're looking for with that warrant article as you guys begin your conversations.
Quick question for you.
Sure.
$30,000.
Yes.
Have you got estimates to back that number up?
So the current, the scope of the work that's going on over there at Park is a contract that was entered into with Busby Construction back in, I believe it was August of 2020 from the Board of Selectmen. So the figures that we're working off currently are from that bid and proposal at that time.
Okay.
Does the $30,000 allow you to pay for that contract? I guess that's the point that Daryl's trying to get to.
No, the scope of the project, the scope of that contract is much bigger. We've already done, it's a 6-piece project.
Okay.
That we've already accomplished like 4 pieces of it, 3 or 4 pieces. So it's kind of a phased out project. So this would be phase 2. Phase 1 was the field construction itself.
Okay. Have you, and what I'm asking too also is that the dugout and the backstop, that's what you're doing with the $30,000, I'm assuming?
Yes,
Okay.
yes. That's what our
That's
goal right
typically
now is
not
to
what-
get that field playable.
Right. That's typically not a Busby type of thing. Have you gotten any estimates or any other estimates?
Well,
for
we're
that?
entered into the contract with Busby.
Oh, okay.
The town, it's,
When it was originally done through Recreation,
Yeah.
they were included, they were doing everything. The backstop.
Oh, the whole deal?
The whole thing,
Yeah.
yeah.
Okay.
the whole thing, soup to nuts.
Okay, good.
And they actually built the JV field at the high school many umpteen years ago.
Yep,
So
yeah.
they have a little bit of experience in there, but
Yeah.
they are handling the project from soup to
Great.
nuts.
Great. Good company. Glad they're doing
Very
it.
much. We appreciate your support.
Thank you.
Have a great night.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Hello.
Haley Bush, I'm chairman of the Plaistow Home Day Committee.
I just wanted to come and talk to you guys in regards to a meeting we had last night. It was our first meeting of the year. I'm just going to read because there's a lot of bullet points I wanted to make, so I just wanted to get everything written down. The Plaistow Old Home Day Committee met for the first time yesterday, January 23rd. We finalized our charter and selected our date for 2022, which is going to be June 18th. We're all very anxious and excited to start planning and bringing back Old Home Day as it was before the pandemic and instill the normalcy of our town celebration, which we all miss very much. Sorry, I'm out of breath. From the information I gathered before our meeting, we were approved for a $15,000 budget from the Budget Committee, along with $5,120 we had fundraised for Old Home Day in 2021. This total was $7,020, but a local business withdrew their donation when the event was canceled in August. Old Home Day 2021 was canceled 3 weeks from the event last August, and we were unable to utilize any funds. The last time an Old Home Day was held, our budget was $22,500. If we do obtain the $5,120, this will bring our budget to $20,120. Using the fundraised money, we also need to include in our budget the advertising for these businesses as promised when we asked them to donate. This was accounted for in our scaled back Old Home Day last year we had planned, but this has not been done in previous years when we didn't solicit donations. From my understanding, when the event was canceled, I was told these funds were going to be offered, I was told these funds were going to be returned to the citizens and businesses that donated. Doesn't sound right. I was told these funds were going to be offered as a return to the citizens and businesses that donated or carried over to the 2022 OHD season, as I was told, and it was also noted on social media when I initially announced the event being canceled. We are aware of the warrant article to do this, and we are also told last year that a warrant article was required to obtain the funds that we did fundraise. The warrant article was created for a citizen vote to approve those funds into our Old Home Day Trust. If the warrant article passes, the donations the committee fundraise will be utilized for the 2022 planning. But if the warrant article fails, they will not be. If it does not pass, we will also be planning Old Home Day with more than $7,000 less than what we did when we held it in 2019, which was our last Old Home Day. One would assume the funds that were raised would be returned to the donors, but now we're being told this is not the case. Just last night, the committee was informed these funds are currently sitting in the town's general fund until the town vote. And if the warrant article fails, these funds that were generously donated by citizens and businesses will remain there and not necessarily be used for Old Home Day at all. Some of these donations being hundreds and hundreds of dollars. If it does not pass, or if the citizens or businesses don't want their donations to be part of the town fund, are they ever going to get it back if they want it? We as a committee are asking that these funds be completely returned to all citizens and local businesses and would like our official budget from our last successful Old Home Day in 2019 to be reinstated to $22,500. We collected these funds under the assumption that that they would only be used regarding Plaistow Old Home Day. The right thing to do would be to either put these funds in our trust as intended by everybody and every business that donated, which would fall under a public vote with the possibility of not passing, or return all fundraised money where it came from, which is what the committee prefers. Also, last night, the committee, including myself, learned that we now fall under the Recreation Department with now a recreational department head. None of us were informed of this before the meeting last night. We were told that we are now a charter, or becoming a charter, and that any money raised or brought in for Old Home Day is now town money. We were never aware this change was made and are more so confused on when, how, or why this was decided without any committee input, including myself. We were told last night vendor money is now no longer going to the Historical Society, even though I was told multiple times, most recently my last visit here, that a warrant article was required to make that change. According to what we were told last night, the vendor fees, which always went to the Historical Society, will go directly to the town, not Old Home Day. If that is the case, what's the point of even charging a vendor fee? We would rather have it stay with the Historical Society to help upkeep the town museum and offer student scholarships among many other positive things the Historical Society does for our town. Additionally, we were told any raffle money raised or donations of any kind need to go directly into the general fund. We were told that our bylaws needed to be updated to clearly state that all money regarding Old Home Day is not Old Home Days and will be put into our trust, but belongs into the town fund. No one on the committee was comfortable adding or voting that to our bylaws last night until we get clarification from you, the selectmen. I feel that the goal of Old Home Day has been lost to politics. This is an event for the community, by the community, that is a staple of this town. With these new changes, our volunteer committee does not benefit, our historical society does not benefit, and most of all, our community does not benefit. Thank you. I also have a list of our 2022 charter and our bylaws that were updated February 2020, which were approved by you, and we have not voted to change those last night.
So one thing I could add immediately, unless the actual trust fund, its purpose is changed by warrant, then the money that you collect for the vendor fees, it's totally up to the committee where they want it to go.
That's just not what we were told last night.
Well, it's basically it's trust fund, and trust funds can only be used for the way they are created, the purpose that they are created. And that includes donations in your advertising, brochures and stuff. So that's how the warrant article is written. It doesn't say anything about vendor fees. So that has not been changed. And neither has a warrant article been submitted by your committee to request that. So as far as what I'm concerned, that's totally a decision that your committee will decide.
So it's ultimately up to us if we decide to keep those vendor fees with the Historical Society. Because now we're being pushed to write in our bylaws that we can't keep that money.
If you provide the money to the Historic Society, that's absolutely within your premise.
Colby?
I'm going to respectfully disagree with that.
Okay,
The idea we ran into last year was we had an insurance problem. This is a formal committee of the town of Plaistow.
Okay.
Which means to have it done properly, all the money should come through the town of Plaistow and should be decided to be expended by the Board of Selectmen ultimately, not a separate committee. There's not another committee, the track committee does not decide to spend money, without the approval of the board. Everything comes through the town's general fund. And you've given me so many things that I don't even know where to address.
This is us last night.
Well, but there's misinformation here. I don't know who told you that the funds would stay with the general fund and not go back to the citizens that donated that money. That is absolutely false. The reason why there is a warrant article is to take those donations that were received and put them into the trust fund so that the board, as agents of that trust fund, can then approve them to be spent.
And we understand that. We want to know what happens if the town says no. Can that money go back to all these donors?
Yes.
We were told last night that it was going to go back into the general fund.
Last night, I believe what I said is I wasn't sure what the answer was to that, and I would find out when I spoke with the town manager this morning.
But it all goes back to
warrant
the,
article field. I didn't know the answer last night.
Okay, well, last night, the recreation director was very clear that any money that, including vendor fees, was not any ours. It had to go right into the general
Right,
fund.
the vendor fees, from what we're saying, correct me if I'm wrong, Greg.
But when did that even change? Like, when was it decided that it wasn't going to go to Historical Society? Because the committee definitely, you've been to every meeting, we definitely never voted on
I
that.
know that wouldn't happen.
And I'm going to tell you that historically, just because it's been done a certain way in the past doesn't make it right. I'm going to tell you that the fact that those should come into the general fund is more correct than what's been done before. And the Historical Society should come before the board and ask for budget money out of the budget to help fund the Historical Society. And that all that money should come here because it is a cost of Old Home Day and helps offset that cost.
so the vendor fees cannot go, do I have this correct? The vendor fees cannot go into the Old Home Day Trust Fund, but would go into the general fund until the Board of Selectmen decided what they wanted to do with it. So making this a little bit more generic, any funds collected should go through the town.
Yes.
That's the proper way to do
That is
this.
the proper way to do it, yes.
But there's been no decision of where those funds are going to go.
That is correct.
Okay.
And that's our concern, because we're not in the loop.
So you would be an
We
advisor.
didn't even know that Jen was our department. We had no idea.
In your bylaws that were forwarded, it talks about the recreation director as part of your
Correct.
Old Home Day Committee.
Correct.
But you're telling us now that you didn't even know that she was part of that, but in the
I'm
bylaws,
telling you now that I didn't know that she was our department head, that she'd be collecting our invoices, and that she specifically said that she would be the middleman between us and the fire department, the police department, and the selectmen. That has never been the case, and that does not say that in our bylaws.
when
It says she's a liaison for the Plaistow Recreation Department.
when Mrs. Cruz was on the Recreation Commission, what role did she perform?
She was part of the committee at one point, which Jen is not part of our committee, but Christina Cruz was on our committee. And then at one point, she did do the invoices for us when she was on our committee, when she was an actual member.
Okay, so that shouldn't be a surprise then, is my point, that we have the recreation director involved. to help facilitate the communication from your committee into town hall, thus the Board of Selectmen, the town manager's office, and the finance office. That's not a new concept then.
That is.
That's a new
I
concept.
would work with the town manager. I would come to all these meetings. You've never seen Christina Cruz sit next to me, not that she hasn't done a lot, but you've never seen her sit next to me at any meetings in the past years. It was always me or my co-chair or someone from our committee to represent us.
Well, I guess my
she-
question is do you see a problem with what we're proposing?
Absolutely not, but communication is what we have a problem with. We walked in completely blindsided. Instead of planning Old Home Day, we spent the entire meeting asking questions like, why wasn't this discussed with us? So we walked in and she's like, surprise, you're a recreational charter now. So you fall under our umbrella. I'm your department head. And then she's saying minutes need to go through her, agendas need to go through her, which are all publicly posted by me. And she's saying that we have to update our bylaws, that no monies are. It was just so much at once. We were just dumbfounded. We were so confused, and there was nothing communicated to us before ahead of time. And it's unfair. And we just want to know when all these changes happened.
I believe that it happened this year. I think one of the things that the board talked about was making sure that all money that was raised by the town wasn't administered by an ad hoc committee, okay? But instead being administered by a town employee. That also gave us the ability to not have to worry about insurance like we did last year. Making sure that everything is paid on a timely basis. It was a whole series of things that made more sense. I apologize that you didn't know about that, but that was the reasoning behind it. And as far as the people that donated getting their money, like Mr. Colby said, if it doesn't pass, those people will get their money back.
And that's what we care about the most, is that money
Yeah.
is just not moved to the general fund to spend
No,
on who knows what.
people will be getting a check back.
No matter what.
So the donations, when this article passes, or let me ask you just a general question. Were the donations deposited in the general fund, or were they deposited in the Old Home Day Fund?
They're in the general fund right
They're
now.
in the general fund right now.
Yes.
So,
That's the only avenue that they can legally be deposited into until further action is taken.
okay,
This board would
Why
So-
we
motion to
have
do
the-
that.
That's why we have the warrant article to take those, put them into the trust fund that was
Okay.
previously established
Okay.
with the Board of Selectmen as agents. So
Right.
the idea would be the committee comes before the board and gets authority to,
to expend those.
here's our plan, here's what we're spending, we need those
Okay.
donations to, to be released, if you will, so that we have approval to spend those.
Right.
Okay. So we're not really changing the intent of the whole Home Day Trust Fund. We're basically just asking the voters to be able to deposit money into the trust fund.
And that is correct. And
No
that-
different. Also skipping
No
one
different than
step.
us asking the voters for the money for Old Home Day.
Right, right, if it was be appropriated from taxes.
Right.
Right.
And I know it's confusing, but it is state law, and DRA, has ruled many a time that you have to have some specific amount to go into the trust fund, and it has to be separately voted.
Okay,
So it just can't be anything collected, we throw over there. That's why what would happen is if you brought in donations this year, or, and the like, they would go over the following year if there were donations that were left over. I mean, if you get another $5,000 this year and the voters approve the 5 and it gives you 25, and you only spend 22,000, then there'll be a warrant article next year to take the excess of $3,000 and push that over into the trust fund for future use.
So what about, because every year we do a raffle, and sometimes it's cash, we do right on the town green. That goes into the general fund, and then it goes in front of the board for them to put it in our trust, because we donate that to charity.
I would, And that's probably a separate item that we'll have to discuss further.
Yeah, because we talked about that earlier, right? That, yes, it would have to come in here, then what the town would cut the check to that charity.
Okay.
Yeah.
And that's the same, like, I think one year we had a widow, and her husband wanted, when he died, he donated a specific amount to use for Old Home Day. This was years and years ago. Something like that were to happen, if a citizen said, hey, I want to donate $500 to Old Home Day this year, how, would that be the same thing?
I'm not a lawyer, but my feeling is if somebody made a donation this year, the board could accept it under 3195 and then vote to use it this year.
Okay. Okay. Well, thank you for clarifying.
So one other thing I'd like to say is that, just like the track committee is an advisory to the Board of Selectmen, I would expect your committee to be advisory to the Board of Selectmen to what to do with these funds. I mean, that's where we'd be looking to you to do that. Whether or not Jen's setting aside to you or not, your committee is basically running Old Home Day. So we would expect to get input and recommendations on how things should go.
But please keep in lockstep with the rec director also. Okay.
I just wanted to give you our,
Haley, I got a question for you. Last year when you were planning, did you get any vendor fees in?
we did. Jim Peck did our vendors last year, and some carried over, so that's probably still sitting with the Historical Society, and a lot were returned. We didn't have many vendors last year.
Okay.
I'll have to talk to Jim to get that exact number. I don't have that with me, but my mom Wendy is running vendors this year, so she's gonna be working.
So this year, those vendor fees will be solely for Old Home Day.
Well,
You don't have to share them with the Historical Society.
we didn't know that before tonight. Right now, it's set up that if you were to go log on as a vendor right now, it goes to right to the Historical Society if you were to pay right now.
Well, a bunch of us, like me included, I left my money in for this year. And so if a chance it didn't happen, I certainly would want my money back.
Right.
But I left it in like a lot of others, so you guys would have this money up front and you'd be all set. So I think it's a better system than what we had before. And just like you said, communication, and it's going to take a while to get used to it because it's a little different. But you're going to have more funds to work with and you're going to have more control over it.
Right.
So, thank you.
Jay?
I'll just speak to the Historical Society. I'm the liaison to that committee. So Mr. Peck had received all those funds. I don't know the exact numbers, but he did return some of those fees, and a lot of the vendors either said keep it for next year or donate it to the Historical Society. So they have that list, so I would just reach out to them if you want to touch base with them. So they have all that information.
Good.
So.
Okay.
Did you feel better than you did last night?
Much.
Thank you, Haley.
Tonight, I'm happy.
Thank you.
This is our bylaws, if you want a copy of it, and this is our 2022 charter, where we voted our 3 officers.
Perfect.
All right, thank you so much.
Thank you, Haley. Okay, moving on. Review warrant articles.
Page 8.
Yeah. Okay, why don't we start at the far end of the table and we'll just work our way around.
Excuse me, Mr. Chair, we want to just do this page first,
Oh.
please?
Sorry.
It's 21 and 22.
Yeah. I'll make a motion to approve Article P 2221, deposit to Recreation Plan Capital Reserve in the amount of $30,000.
Second the motion.
And we're just revoting this because we've only had 4 members vote. We want to get a full board.
Right.
Correct.
Okay, any other discussion on that? If not, do you need a roll call or a vote? Good. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay,
So that's now 500.
next one.
Make a motion that we approve the reduced budget Committee membership, Article P22-22. Can I read this since it's new?
Yes, absolutely.
Shall the town vote to reduce the Budget Committee to 10 members and the Selectman representative, which would be 11 votes, to 8 members and the Selectman's representative, which would be 9 votes. Majority vote required, recommended by the Board of Selectmen. We haven't voted on that yet. Explanation, the article would reduce the number of voting members of the Budget Committee from 11 to 9. And the 2022 to 2023 Budget Committee will be made up of 10 voting members and a Selectman representative who also votes. The intent of this article is to reduce the committee size to 9 total votes starting in March of 2023. This change was requested by the current Budget Committee.
So it's a reduction of 2, right? Basically.
Yeah, and I mean, for good reason. We didn't have a full board this year. We've got 6 vacancies this year. Nobody's clamoring to be on the Budget Committee, and with the problems we were having with not having a quorum, we're hoping by this reduction. I think everybody, I know it says it in here, but just everybody be aware that if this is enacted, it won't be this year, it'll be the following year. So, any other comments on that?
We need a second.
I'm sorry,
Second.
Bill?
I just have one comment. I think this might be confusing to the voters because we changed it last year and we're changing it down again. I'm just putting it out there, but if we're having trouble getting people to participate in our municipal budget committee, probably lowering the number is probably a best bet, so.
Yeah, 100% agree. You know, it just, we hate to see people not running for office. I'm not condemning anybody that isn't, and I understand everybody's time restraints, but it just, we can't be in a position where we don't have a quorum and we can't get things voted on. So, one or two things. Please go to the ballot box and vote this in, or sign up, and we won't have to make it an issue. Okay, with that, I'll call for a vote. All those in favor, say aye.
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 500. Okay, we're going to go through the warrant articles. We're just going to read the article itself. We're not going through explanations or anything else. I feel as though that everything's on social media. It'll be in the town report. It's posted. I mean, we do this because we have to, and certainly we'll get through it in a reasonable amount of time doing that.
So could I add that these will appear, not in the town report, that'll be next year.
Oh, I'm
but-
sorry, yeah.
But they'll appear inside the voter's guide.
In the guide,
And
yes.
those will be made available for the deliberative session as
Yep.
well. Yep.
Will the voters' guides be available before the deliberative?
Yep, we just got our last 2 numbers inside here, and now with this vote, we can, Beth will be able to finalize this and get it printed.
Okay.
So it'll be posted to the webpage. It'll be posted to the highway garage where we will be having deliberative session. It'll be posted at the town hall.
Library, the
So
library.
It will be available for the general public. So
Yes.
after tonight, I'm assuming?
If not
This
after
week.
tonight.
It'll
May
be
not
ready
be-
this week, right?
Probably like Wednesday, Thursday.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. Take it from the top. Greg, you can start if you want.
Do you want, are we going to read the entire warrant, or do you want to just read the title, or were you looking for final discussion, or what are we trying to do here?
I think that we can read the title,
Okay,
give an amount,
okay,
and if anybody's got any questions, we'll move forward with the questions.
awesome. So Water Services Incentive Program, it's Article P22-02. It amounts to a raising and appropriating $450,000 for a way of citizens being able to pay for their hookup to the water service that will be coming this spring. Is that sufficient?
Very good. Okay, article, the next one is,
Darryl, just a quick question on that. So are these, we're going to assign these warrant articles out, or are we going to speak to them at deliberative session?
yeah, I think
Okay.
we need to, you know. But tonight, I just don't think it's the forum to go, you know, we can speak to them here.
Do
if
we
have
want to assign
comments.
these as we go through them?
What's that?
You want to assign them, so I'll take this one, and I can talk about it at deliberative session,
Which one?
the water service incentive program.
Okay, so we'll put J in here.
I mean, do we want to just go, everyone grabs every fifth one?
That's fine, whatever.
Whatever works.
I mean, because I'm just saying it's an easier one, and
I think it was just easy, we just keep rotating, okay? Why don't you take the next one?
all right, replace fire department Tower 3 fire truck, Article P 22-03. Shall the town vote to raise and appropriate the sum of $1,500,000 for the replacement of the fire department's Tower 3 fire truck?
So just one comment on this. The Budget Committee currently has voted 601, which is basically recommending this, and we are looking, have put in a request to DRA to see whether or not we really need to include this highlighted sentence, which says the passage of the article should override the 10% limitation imposed on the appropriation due to the non-recommendation of the Budget Committee, which is a condition we do not have right now. And so hopefully we'll hear from that maybe tomorrow or something.
I hope so, yes.
Yeah.
Okay, John, you want to take the next one?
Operating budget, general fund? That the one we want to do?
Yep.
Article P-22-04. Shall the town vote to raise and appropriate as an operating budget, not including appropriations by special warrant and other appropriations voted separately, the amount set forth in the budget posted with the warrant as amended by the vote in the first session for the purpose set forth therein totaling $10,508,555.
I think that one's pretty self-explanatory. Okay, the next one we'll take, operating budget, Water Department, Article P 2205. Shall the town vote to raise and appropriate an operating budget for the Water Department, not including appropriations by special warrant and other appropriations voted separately? The amount set forth on the budget, posted on the warrant, or as amended by vote of the first session for the purpose set forth therein, totaling $431,300. Should this article be defeated, the operating budget shall be $431,300 with certain adjustments required by previous actions of town or by law of the governing body. May hold a special meeting in accordance with RSA 40:13, 10. Action of the town by the law or with the governing body may hold one, I'm sorry, just copied that one, and by 11, to make up the issue of revised budget only. Majority vote required.
Okay, collective bargaining agreement, CBA Police Union, Article P 22-07. So the town vote to approve the cost items included in the collective bargaining agreement reached between the town of Plaistow and the Plaistow Police Union, Teamsters Local 633, which calls for the following increases in salary and benefits at the current staffing level. So the contract year 1, which goes from April 2022 through March of 2023, $255,055. Second contract year, same time periods, $139,849, and the third contract year, $147,603. and to further raise and appropriate the sum of $191,291 for the current fiscal year. This is because the period for the contract is April through March, but we're talking about this warrant article be going from April 1st through December 31st. That's why that 191 is different.
Very good. Bill?
Special town meeting for defeated collective bargaining agreement, CBA, Article P22-07, shall the town, if Article P-22-06 is defeated, authorize the Board of Selectmen to call one special meeting at its option to address warrant article P-22-06, cost item only. This is basically if the previous article is defeated, then back on this one.
Okay.
Contingency Fund, Article P2208. Shall the town vote to establish a contingency fund for the current year for unanticipated expenses that may arise, and further to raise and appropriate $80,000 to put in the fund. The sum to come from the general fund unassigned fund balance. Any appropriation left in the fund at the end of the year will lapse to the general fund.
Thank you, Jay.
Selectmen 500, Budget Committee 700.
John?
Okay, that's the create and deposit to reevaluation capital reserve fund. That's Article P-22-09. Shall the town vote to establish a reevaluation capital reserve fund under the provisions of RSA 35-1 for funds to meet our constitutional and statutory requirement that assessments are at full and true value at least as often as every fifth year, to raise and appropriate the sum of $35,000 to be placed in this fund, further to name the Board of Selectmen as agents to expand from said fund. Majority vote required.
Thank you, John. Article P-22-10, Deposit to Highway Equipment Trust Fund. Shall the town vote and raise and appropriate the sum of $50,000 to be added to the existing Highway Department Equipment Expendable Trust Fund? Majority vote required.
Article P-22-11, deposit to the Fire Department or Apparatus Capital Reserve Fund. Shall the town vote to raise and appropriate the sum of $140,000 to be added to the existing Fire Department Apparatus Capital Reserve Fund? Majority vote required.
Deposit to the Fire Department Radio Capital Reserve Fund, Article P-22-12. Shall the town vote to raise and appropriate the sum of $74,000 to be added to the Fire Department Radio Capital Reserve Fund previously established in 2019? Majority vote required.
Thank you.
Deposit to Cemetery Special Maintenance Expendable Trust Fund, P-2213. Shall the town vote to raise and appropriate the sum of $20,000 to be added to Cemetery Special Maintenance Expendable Trust Fund, previously established in 2018. The funds will be withdrawn from the general fund unassigned fund balance. Majority vote required. Greg, do you want to take that one on deliberative session,
Sure, that's fine.
since you're
Yep,
kind
be
of,
happy to.
and I'll take whatever one you end up with, okay?
Okay,
John?
deposit to Energy Capital Reserve Fund. Shall the town vote to raise and appropriate the sum of $25,000 to deposit into the existing Energy Capital Reserve Fund previously established in 2016? Majority vote required.
Article P-2215, Deposit to the Transportation Infrastructure Capital Reserve Fund. Shall the town vote to raise and appropriate the sum of $40,000 to deposit into an existing Transportation Infrastructure Capital Reserve Fund? that previously established in 2016. A majority of the vote required. The amount is $40,000.
SOROC donation, Article P 22-16. Shall the town vote to raise and appropriate the sum of $7,000 to support the substance misuse prevention, suicide prevention, and community wellness services of the SOROC Coalition for Healthy Youth?
Establish building expendable trust fund and deposit, Article E-22-17. Shall the town vote to establish a building expendable trust fund per RSA 31:19-A for the purpose of all building interior and exterior capital maintenance, including but not limited to carpeting, flooring, siding, roofing, and painting, all building site maintenance, all building expansion and/or reconfiguration, and all buildings interior systems, including but not limited to HVAC, electrical, plumbing, water, wastewater, communications, and security, repair and/or replacement, and to raise and appropriate $25,000 to be put in the fund with the amount to come from the general fund, unassigned fund balance. Further, to name the Board of Selectmen as agents to expend from said fund. Majority vote required.
Discontinue existing building systems capital reserve fund. Article P 2218, shall the town vote to discontinue the building systems capital reserve fund? Said funds and accumulated interest to date of withdrawal are to be transferred to the municipality's general fund. This article shall be null and void if Article P 2217 does not pass. Majority vote required.
Deposit to Old Home Day Expendable Trust Fund. Shall the town vote to raise and appropriate the sum of $5,120 to be added to the Old Home Day Expendable Trust Fund previously established, the sum to come from the unassigned fund balance and represent donations received in 2021 with no amount to be raised from taxation? Majority of vote required.
Fire Department Apparatus Capital Reserve Fund Fiscal Agent Assignment. Article P 2220. Shall the town vote to appropriate the Board of Selectmen as agents to the expand from the Fire Department Apparatus Capital Reserve Fund previously established in 1998? Majority of the vote required. Total appropriation, 0.
Deposit to Recreation Plan Capital Reserve Fund, Article P 22-21. Shall the town vote to raise and appropriate the sum of $30,000 to be deposited into the existing Recreation Plan Capital Reserve Fund previously established? Majority vote required.
Reduce budget committee membership, Article P-22-22. Shall the town vote to reduce the budget committee from 10 members and the selectman representative 11 votes to 8 members and the selectman representative 9 votes total? So it's basically like we said earlier, we're just reducing it by 2.
Right.
Town Forest Edition, Article P 2223, shall the town vote to add a 4.32 acre parcel to the town forest? The parcel was created by a lot line adjustment on tax map 6, lot 16, to remove the parcel, and a second lot line adjustment on tax map 6, lot 7, to add the parcel. The existing tax map 6, lot 7 is already part of the town forest.
And if okay, I'd be happy to do that one if you want.
What's that?
I'll be happy to read that one at the deliberative session if you'd like.
That's fine.
Okay. Zoning amendment, Z-22-A. Are you in favor of amendment number 1 as a proposed by the Plaistow Planning Board to the Plaistow zoning ordinance, Article 2, definitions as follows? renumber the existing introductory paragraph as paragraph B and add a new paragraph A as follows. Want me to read it? Terms and...
Pleasure of the board, do we want to read this, or, I mean,
The board doesn't really recommend these. These are all recommended by the planning board.
yeah. So I think we'll pass on that, John.
Okay.
Zoning Amendment Z22B. Are you in favor of Amendment Number 2 as proposed by the Plaistow Planning Board to the Plaistow zoning ordinance? Article 3, General Provisions, 220-10, roadway construction as followed.
Zoning Amendment Z22-D, are you in favor of Amendment 4 as proposed by the Plaistow Planning Board? Article 5, Establishment of District and District Regulations, Section 220-32, District Objectives and Land Use Control by amending Table 220-32 as follows, and the table will present.
Zoning Amendment Z-22-E. Are you in favor of amendment number 5 as proposed by the Plaistow Planning Board to the Plaistow zoning ordinance? Article 8, accessory dwelling units, -ADU, it was chapter 220-57. Basically, it's to modify some of the text, it's just some wording from and to.
Zoning Amendment Z22F, are you in favor of Amendment Number 6 as proposed by the Plaistow Planning Board to the Plaistow zoning ordinance, Article 9, signs, Chapter 220-58, all districts, Paragraph D. And basically, it's changing some verbiage in the paragraph.
The zoning amendments, to my understanding from the planning board, do not have to be read at the deliberative session because there is no vote for them.
Yep.
Zoning Amendment Z-22-G. Are you in favor of Amendment Number 7 as proposed by the Plaistow Planning Board to the Plaistow zoning ordinance, Article 9, signs 220-59, Commercial 1 and Industrial Districts, Paragraph B as follows.
Zoning Amendment 722H. Are you in favor of an amendment number 8 as proposed by Planning Board to the Plaistow zoning ordinance by merging 3 stormwater ordinances, articles, holy God. I'm not going to read, I'm not even going to read them all. To Article 4, natural resource protection, and furthermore, to date, the merge Article 4 with changes required by the latest small municipal separated stormwater sewerage, MS4, as follows.
And that's the last one.
That's it.
That's it.
Well, that was easy.
Okay, next item. Prepare for a deliberative session.
Well, we basically just took care of that.
Prepare with that.
You want to pass this, do we want to sign these now and pass that around?
Yeah. And approval of prior executive session minutes is the last thing.
Here you go, Darrell. Thank you, sir.
Welcome.
Is there anything remaining that would require us to keep these sealed? I don't think they are, but
Not at this
your
point.
opinion?
Yeah.
You good? So I'll make a motion that we approve the January 3rd, 2022 non-public session of the Board of Selectmen. And then I'll make a motion after I'll make a motion now to leave these unsealed.
Second? Jay seconded?
Mr. Blinn?
Mr. Blaine?
Well, I can redo that. Mr. Britton?
Yes.
Mr. Blinn?
Yes.
Mr. Talion?
Yes.
Mr. DeRoche?
Yes.
Mr. Coy? And I'm sorry, who's the second? Jay?
Jay, yeah. It was me. Okay. Thank you, sir. With that said,
Thank you.
anybody else got anything new or different that they want to talk about? Okay.
I'll just, I'll report that I attended the trash meeting with JRM, our vendor, with the town manager, with the chair, Darryl, Mr. Britton, the project coordinator, Dee Voss. There have been a lot of concerns by the residents in town. I think it was a very productive meeting. We met, we talked through a lot of the concerns and the issues, so I know this is a new contract, and this is a new kind of setup for everybody, for the town, for the residents, for JRM. So please be patient with us as we work through some of these concerns. There were some concerns that the barrels were not being emptied, completely emptied. So we worked through that. I think we all just want to get off on the right foot and make sure that this is successful for our residents. So just be aware that we're working to try to make it better for everybody. So, and JRM is too. So we'll get there.
Good meeting.
Yeah, it was a good meeting. It was very productive, and hopefully we can, it would be good to continue to have, quarterly meetings and have a touch base with them. So.
Very good, Jay.
Jay?
Yes.
Just so you know, I talk to a lot of people in town, and most of the feedback I'm getting is positive.
Yep.
So I think that's a good thing. I've talked to some people who weren't really into recycling as much before, but now they're more excited about it. It seems like the rules for recycling and what they're accepting is a little more broader, so it's making it easier.
Yep.
So, like I said, I've gotten more positive feedback than not, so.
That's good.
And what I've heard too from some of the residents in town is they do like the dumpsters with the cardboard. So you figure instead of the cardboard piling up for 2 weeks, they get something in, they drive by one of the locations, boom, there goes the cardboard. It's out of, they don't have to look at it anymore.
Yep.
So that's definitely positive, I think, having those dumpsters in town.
Have we gotten any feedback for the cardboard dumpsters? Is that working out? Are they getting filled up, or?
All I know of the cardboard dumpsters they're being used.
Good.
People are using them. I know there was some maybe placement issue over at the annex, so that one might be moved. I don't know for sure what came about with that, but other than that, people have been using it that want to use it,
Good.
So.
How often are they gonna empty the dumpsters?
I believe it's every Tuesday.
Yep.
Right.
They're on schedule for Tuesday pickup.
That's good, because I noticed over at the annex today, it's full.
Is it
Oh,
full?
really?
Oh, wow.
Full with cardboard, which is nice.
So people are using it, so.
Yeah.
That's good.
That's
And I
good.
want to report that last week, the wind blew a barrel out into the street. A car hit it, and the car lost. A really good barrel.
What he's saying is the car lost, but Blinn Auto
Blinn Auto.
Body won.
That's right.
I fought the barrel and the barrel won.
That's good.
Anything else, gentlemen?
Yeah, I have.
Bill?
Last night I attended the old home day meeting, and obviously you're glad to see we got Haley, feels better about some of the changes made, which is good. Also attended last week recreation meeting. they have a ladies' night out craft event on February 2nd. It's going to be at the Vic Gary. There is a $35 charge for it. There is a sign up. If you can sign up online, there's only 20 spots available. What they're going to do is create a custom stack book bundle. I'm not sure what that is, but if you go online, it's a craft thing. I've never been known to be a crafty sort of guy. Also, baseball, softball registrations are open for the next several weeks, so if any boy or girl is interested in playing, please go online and register. And also, for summer rec, anyone 16 or older, they are hiring. So please, if you're interested, reach out to Jen over at Recreation and fill out an application.
Bill, can I just ask the question, is it the impression of the committee that they will not have enough money to run Old Home Day? Haley made a comment about the number being more like around 20,000 versus 22.5.
That is something that we might have to address, I think, right? Because if they're used to 22,000,
Yeah.
nothing went down in pricing, right? We all know it's going up.
No,
But
they're going up, right?
I think the difference is some folks, I think the donations requested their money back last year. So what's the difference of 2,000, I think?
And the other concern I had was the fact that if donations are returned, then this $5,000 will drop down and there'll be more in a deficit. So long-term, is this something that maybe we could discuss at a later meeting? Is this something that we would put under recreation, or would we still leave it as a separate budgeted department?
The will of the board.
Okay, so it could be funded through the recreation department.
Well, could maybe just move that line item under recreation, especially if Jen's gonna be the one, putting the invoices out. That might make sense.
Okay,
I think, too, that as we talked about last year, or before last year's Old Home Day, there has to be a concerted effort to try to do some fundraising. I think the fundraising was done, and it was done in short order, and we came up with, what, $5,000 or $6,000, whatever it was. So, I mean, a concerted effort at this point for the next 3-4 months may yield more.
Yep.
So I think it's one of those things that there are people out there that will donate, so let's try to tap that resource as much as we can.
good.
Anything from your side of the fence?
Well, I'm just going to add a couple things. I know we had the public hearing on the fire truck. The fire chief obviously listened to what the board had to say, and in very short order has submitted a grant application. I believe it was either that week or very shortly thereafter, under FEMA and the assistance to firefighters, which, given the population of Plaistow, we would qualify up to $1 million. So, but again, it's like winning the lottery, and they may give you $1, they may give you $1 million, or they may not give you anything at all. So, but I just want to let you know that he did get the application done, and it is, it's with FEMA at this point. So probably we'll hear sometime in the fall, whether it gets approved or not. And on the line of the fire department, they have had a very busy time over the last couple weeks and year. They had their call total was up 11% from the previous year to over 1,200 calls. And just in this past week alone, they had 4 house fires. So,
And Greg, is most of that residential?
yeah, a basement, a bedroom, an attic, and a porch. So, yeah, it was all residential. And because of, what the residents have approved and the voters have approved as far as having a 24-hour manned station, they made the response time significantly less and was a large contributor to saving, those 4 buildings, so.
With the changes in the I don't want to say regulations, but changes in the interpretation of the regulations for ARPA, would any of those funds be available to offset the bond for the fire truck?
I'm unsure. I would say yes.
Okay.
But they have, obviously, they have a time frame of when they have to be spent. So we would need to look at the time frame of that versus how long a truck might be out there,
Okay.
so.
Okay.
Are there any type of like public safety impact fees or anything that can be used for the truck?
There is, but it's minimal. It's more for the building. It's really more towards that side versus a vehicle side of it, if I remember correctly.
Okay. On my end, just a personal gripe, and it's one that I'm hearing from a lot of people. My cable bill and my electric bill now are more than I paid for my first car. So it's horrible. I feel bad for people that are in a financial position where they're having to get rid of cable, obviously, and that's an option. Electric, you can't get rid of it. That's not an option. And also the price of fuel, which we're all bearing witness to. I think we have to keep that in mind and do what we can to try to stimulate the powers to be to try to do something about it. It just can't go unchecked. Never in my lifetime did I think a cable bill would be $200 or $250 a month.
They don't give any discounts to seniors or anything.
They give you
Zero.
nothing. They give you
Because I
nothing.
know, I was on the phone pleading with them.
No, you know, us old guys get nothing.
Nothing.
No, when you figure when we were younger, when I grew up, there was no cable.
That's right.
So.
But we had 4, 5, and 7.
Then 38 came in with the Bruins.
Right. But I hear you. A lot of people I've heard from are very upset about it. I wish we could say we could do more about it, but hopefully better times will come. And, do what you can to conserve as much as you can. Thank you, gentlemen. Thank
So
you.
can I make one comment?
Yes.
At the planning board, I just want to just communicate this. The planning board reviewed the site plan for a third emergency medical facility, and this would be a 24-hour, 7 days a week type facility, and it would be more like an emergency room, like a small emergency room.
That's the
Well,
one that's
they-
going in where the old Dairy Queen was?
No, this is where the furniture place is.
Oh, the Ethan Allen.
Ethan Allen, yeah.
I know there was one coming in also
Yeah.
at the old Dairy Queen.
And so if this gets approved and gets finalized, they would basically provide a third unique type of medical. And because we have a very elderly community within Plaistow, and it's getting older, this is a good thing. This is a positive thing.
I like it. It's walking distance to the house.
There you go.
You know, so. Jay?
Just a follow-up to that, Greg. I know in the past, when Walmart came in, they helped pay for a police officer.
That's right.
Because he's obviously, our fire department is busy. They do respond to calls to these medical facilities as well. I don't know if there's anything within our purview, or do we set up some type of meeting with someone to maybe talk about, maybe
Like an
they
impact
help?
fee?
Yeah,
Yeah, like an impact fee. Well, they're going to pay an impact fee anyway, but.
right, they will.
Can we
So,
use those impact fees?
so we had Chris, we had the fire chief come and talk to us, and the first two, because of the nature of the service they provide, there will be no contact with the fire department at all, because the fire department's not really in the transportation business. So typically, they will use their ambulance service they normally use if they have to escort, if they have to get somebody. They're intended to basically go to a residence and provide a service, whether it's resuscitate somebody or whatever. there's a question about this most current one, because it's kind of like at the closest place. So if they go to a residence and the patient needs further, they could probably possibly transport them to this emergency room, which is just across town, versus having to get an ambulance. And that makes a big difference in terms of time. So we've kind of left it that we would like to talk to Chris again because of this new one, to see whether or not there would be any additional time or any additional relationships of transportation with the fire department in this new facility. But it's a little bit, it's not really premature, but it's a little bit premature because it's still in the process.
Right,
They haven't
right.
been approved yet. But yeah, absolutely, yeah. We asked those questions of both of the other facilities because we wanted to know how is that going to impact the police department, the fire department. And Chris Knutson basically said, no, there is no impact at all for those two. So thank you for bringing that up, though.
All right, thank you.
Well, with that, I will call for adjournment, and please, everybody, it's going to be very, very cold for the next couple of nights. If you know people,
Stay
especially elderly, that need to stay warm, watch out for them. Thank you.
Good night.